Can you imagine what it must have been like for early European immigrants living in the United States in the early 1900s?
Oh, it must have been so hard. They had to get used to all those new American TV shows.
Well, I'm Sydney, and this is Max, and that's what we're going to find out as we blast through the past here in New York City.
Two kids travel to places. Two kids discover traces of events that all happened before, where secrets are revealed and more. Sydney and Max blast through the past. Sydney and Max blast through the past. Sydney and Max blast through the past. Where are they going today? Sydney and Max blast through the past. They see the past in a whole new way. Sydney and Max. Sydney and Max.
Just imagine being crammed on a boat, not seeing land for weeks, and then all of a sudden the Statue of Liberty appears. Can you imagine how excited they must have been?
I'm still trying to imagine what it must have been like to be crammed on a boat with all those people. It must have stunk.
I'm sure it did, but can you think of any other way for European immigrants to come to America?
Did they have jet skis back then? Okay, so they had to come by boat, but where did these people come from anyway?
I think mainly European countries like Germany, Italy, and Ireland.
But I think Europe is an awesome place to live, so why would they come here?
There's a lot of opportunities for work and money.
So you're saying a guy would just uproot his family and say, hey, let's go to America.
I guess that's why it became so populated.
So a man would just come and take his family and say, oh, let's go to America, huh?
Sure, there's a lot more working opportunities.
Yeah, and Sid said most of them are from Europe, so they probably had a lot in common.
Wouldn't that make such a nice story?
No, I mean, I know you're busy, Doc, so you don't have to tell us about a story about some happy European immigrants.
Okay, then what if I told you a story about the poor, unemployed, persecuted European immigrants?
Who are they?
Yeah, I thought they all just came here and made a bunch of money.
Come with me and let me tell you the true story about early immigrants in this country. So you see, they weren't as happy as you thought they were. Whoops, I need to go to the old police station for an appointment. I'll see you guys later.
Hold on to this.
Why?
Because the police give you one phone call, and knowing Doc is going to be another story.
Will you stop? I happen to find Doc's stories interesting.
You would.
Just think about it, Max. This is the heart of Little Italy.
You know, I love this place. It smells like a giant Italian kitchen.
Just think about it. Doc said over 4 million Italians immigrated to the United States in the early 1900s, and over 300,000 of them lived in New York.
Wow, this neighborhood must have been pretty packed.
I don't think they all came here, but Doc did say this is the biggest Italian community.
That's probably why they call it Little Italy. You know, I think we should investigate this Italian immigration thing some more.
Really? I'm glad you're finally interested in something.
You know, we can start by sampling some authentic Italian food.
Fine. After we go check out the Church of the Most Precious Blood.
Ew, why?
Because something Doc said is bothering me.
Well, everything Doc says bothers me, and that doesn't mean we can't eat.
I want to go find out why early Italian immigrants had such a hard life. Let's go.
Oof.
Max, it says here that this church was built in 1892 as a result of the large number of Italian immigrants in the area.
So what?
Well, I think I remember Doc saying that the building of this church was decreed by the Vatican.
Why would the Vatican care about a bunch of Italian immigrants in New York? Why wouldn't they just go to a different church?
Wait a minute. I remember Doc saying something about another really old church nearby. We have to go find St. Patrick's Cathedral.
Oh, we're going to another church? Why?
I'll tell you when we get there.
Yay. All right, we found your other church. What's so important?
It says there this was built in 1809.
Congratulations, Sydney. You found an old church in Little Italy. Would you like to go double or nothing?
Max, look around. We're not in Little Italy anymore, and I bet with a name like St. Patrick, this was built by Irishmen.
What's your point?
This was probably the only church around when the Italian migration began.
Yeah, so instead of wasting money and building another church, they could have just came to this one.
Doc said they were persecuted.
Yeah, but by other Italians. He said that some of the Italians, the Genoans or whatever, lived on one street and the Sicilians lived on the other. Like, they just couldn't get along.
But he said they went to festivals together. Things couldn't have been that bad.
Well, then who did the persecuting?
I wonder if it was the Irish.
Whatever. Why would the Irish have any problem with the Italians?
Well, think about it. Doc said a lot of Irish immigrants came here in the mid-1800s, so they must have already been here when the Italian migration happened.
So what? The Irish probably would have helped them. I mean, they knew where the jobs were.
Well, maybe that was the problem. Most immigrants were unskilled and looking for any kind of work they could get. They were probably afraid of losing their jobs to the Italians and made life tough on them.
Well, why would the Italians be better workers than the Irish?
The Italians would have done any kind of work for money, and they would have worked as much as possible. Plus, a lot of them didn't even have families, so work was probably all their lives.
So you're saying that the Irish were losing jobs to the Italians, so they weren't letting them into their church services?
And church was very important to the Italians, so they had to go build one of their own.
Wow, I feel kind of bad for the Italians.
Well, remember, it probably happened to the Irish, too, when they came here. Somebody else probably discriminated against them. You know, having a church in the neighborhood probably brought a lot of the Italian communities closer together.
Well, if there were as many Italians in this neighborhood as Doc said, I bet they wouldn't have to worry about the Irish for very long.
I'm impressed, Max. You did pay attention to Doc today.
Yeah. And now we have to start an investigation that I've been thinking about.
What are you going to investigate?
I want to see if this ravioli company's really been selling since 1920.
Should have guessed it has something to do with food.
Two kids travel to places. Two kids discover traces of events that all happened before, where secrets are revealed and more. Sydney and Max, lost in the past. Sydney and Max.